So, let's talk about divine revelation. Now, I know what you might be thinking. It sounds like some dusty, ancient doctrine. But what if I told you it's actually an answer to a really modern problem? What if it's nothing less than a rescue mission for our times?
I mean, think about it. This question is everywhere today. We're living in this culture where truth feels totally subjective, right? Everything's up for debate. So how do you find anything solid to stand on? This crisis of truth is exactly where our journey begins.
And to really get a handle on this, we're going to dive into the personal story of a theologian named Michael Defany, because he found himself smack in the middle of this exact crisis, and his journey shows just how high the stakes really are.
You know, Defany has this great line. It's an adaptation of a classic John Wayne quote. The point is, our ideas about God aren't just, abstract thoughts floating around in our heads. No way. They have real, tangible consequences. If you have a confused or just plain wrong idea of God, it can make an already tough life so much harder. As a young guy, Defany basically took his baptismal candle and just poof, blew it out. He went all in on the philosophies of guys like Marx and Nietzsche. He saw the world as this harsh, mechanical place, just a big game of survival and power, with absolutely no room for God. But this rock-solid materialist worldview, it was about to completely fall apart. And what's so interesting is that it wasn't some complex philosophical argument that did it. It was something profoundly and beautifully human. And this is where it all came to a head. See, on one side, you've got his cynical philosophy that everything is just power and survival. But on the other side, he experiences this undeniable moral light when he falls in love with his future wife. Suddenly, the desire to be good, to be faithful, to love someone selflessly, it was so real. And his old worldview, which now seemed kind of boyish, it just had no explanation for it. And that question, well, that became the turning point. A worldview that boils everything down to genes and power struggles just doesn't have a good answer for the deepest longings of a human heart. It just doesn't cut it when you've actually experienced real love. So, with his old worldview completely shattered, what do? Well, you start searching. He began this massive search for a truth that could actually make sense of the world he was experiencing. And that quest led him straight into the Bible. So he just dove right in. At first, he tried the whole scripture alone approach. But he found out pretty quickly that just reading the Bible by yourself can lead you in 1,000 different directions. I mean, the book is this ancient library, filled with all these different styles of writing from across centuries. It's powerful, for sure, but it is also massively complex. This is when Defany stumbled upon a much older way of thinking, a framework from early Christian thinkers like Thomas Aquinas, and it offers a brilliant solution. Think of it like this. Scripture is the matter, the body of truth. It's all the raw material. But without a reliable guide, it's so easy to get lost. The Church's creeds, which were hammered out over centuries of debate and reflection, they provide the soul. They're the organizing principle that brings it all to life, that summarizes what it all means and keeps us from going off the rails. And this discovery, well, it led to a total shift in how he understood not just the Bible, but the entire purpose of revelation itself. Turns out it's not at all what most people think it is. Okay, so this is absolutely crucial. Revelation isn't God just, sitting down a list of facts or rules. It's a story. It is God himself breaking into human history to fix what's been broken, to heal our relationship with him, and to invite us into this covenant, reminding us of who we were always meant to be, his children, his family. And this insight from J.R.R. Tolkien just says it perfectly. The story you find in Scripture isn't just some history lesson you study from a distance. It's an invitation. It's the story of God's incredible adventure to win his people back, and every single one of us is invited to find our own part to play in it. But here's the thing. For that story to be a real rescue mission, it has to be more than just a beautiful idea or a nice fable. It has to be grounded in reality. And this is where history becomes absolutely essential. The great theologian Thomas Aquinas argued that any spiritual meaning we pull from Scripture has to be built on what he called its literal sense, which just means what actually happened in history. This is so important because Christianity isn't some philosophy about escaping the physical world, it's an incarnational faith, which means it's all about God entering into our world. He didn't just send us an idea, he actually showed up, a real person in a real place at a real time. The physical, historical world matters. It's the very stage where our salvation takes place. So this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle. If Revelation is this real historical rescue mission, how do we actually get in on it? How do we let it transform us? The answer is one word: faith. Now, faith isn't just about agreeing that a bunch of facts are true. Aquinas describes it more like a light, a totally new way of seeing and knowing. It's about allowing God himself, the one who is known, to actually come and live within you, the knower. It's a relationship that starts to change your inner reality, making heaven something that begins right here and right now.
And really, this is the ultimate takeaway. If God is the first truth, the source of all reality itself, then any real search for truth, whether you're in a science lab, or you're wrestling with a philosophical question, or you're experiencing the reality of human love, is ultimately a search for Him. Every little piece of truth we discover is just an echo of the one who created and holds it all together.
So we'll leave you with this question to chew on. If divine revelation is really a rescue mission that we enter by faith, and that faith actually starts to change our reality from the inside out, what does that change about today, about this very moment? Something to think about.